It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the three films of July 20th, 2007. We've got Adam Sandler and Kevin James in a comedy where they have to pretend to be a gay couple so James can get health insurance for his kids. We also have one of the biggest musicals of recent memories at that point, the musical adaptation of Hairspray, and we also have Danny Boyle's latest film, Sunshine. But before we get to those movies, let's talk about the biggest new release of the weekend. And it is certainly a very interesting film, to say the least. Let's talk about I Now Pronounce You, Chuck and Larry.
Problem. I'm trying to get my pension changed to my kids. Chuck was his solution. Domestic partnership.
We're not gay.
On July 20th.
I'd like to talk to you about your domestic partnership.
You're a legitimate couple, right?
I used to wrestle in high school, and I loved it. Adam Sandler, Kevin James.
What do you got?
Maxi pads.
We're gay, not transsexual.
Chuck and Larry.
Greatest body I've ever seen.
These are real, by the way.
Kino. Yucky.
Rated PG-13.
My God, this movie has a wide range of thoughts for me. It's not a bad idea, but at the same time, this is one of those movies that, started off as something pretty promising, but then, Adam Sandler and his buddies came in and completely ruined it. No joke. This is a film written by Alexander Payne and Jim Taylor, the guys who did Sideways. And then, Adam Sandler and his buddies came on board and basically kind of ruined that. This whole movie was supposed to be very, very different. Back in 1999, this movie was actually made with Tom Shadyac, the guy who did Bruce Almighty and Evan Almighty, as the producer of it. And it was supposed to have Nicolas Cage and Will Smith as the two leads in it, with Shadyac directing it. Yeah, that was supposed to happen. It's kind of like what used to be with that movie Partners from the 1980s, that terrible Ryan O'Neal, John Hurt movie where, Ryan O'Neal has to pretend to be, and John Hurt have to pretend to be gay guys. That one was originally written for Clint Eastwood and Woody Allen. And the only reason they didn't do it was because both of them had to agree to work on it. Like Clint Eastwood said, I'll only do it if Woody will do it, and Woody said the same thing about Clint. They didn't agree to it, and so the film never got made that way, and we eventually got the Ryan O'Neal, John Hurt movie that we got. This is pretty much the same thing that happened here, because, this film took a radically different turn once Adam Sandler and his buddies came on board this film. You have Chuck and Larry, who are two New York City firefighters who pretend to be a gay couple in order to ensure one of their children can receive health care. However, things worsen when an agent, played by Steve Buscemi, decides to verify their story. In addition, you have Jessica Biel playing their lawyer. Ving Rhames is one of the firefighters. Dan Aykroyd is also in the movie as the fire chief. And it's not a bad concept. I mean, it's not a bad idea overall. But like I said, it's a film that once you bring in Adam Sandler and his Happy Madison crew, it takes a really good idea and just butchers it completely to the lowest common denominator possible. And at times, there are moments where it does work. I like the chemistry between Adam Sandler and Kevin James. There's a great scene towards the end of the movie where, they're in court and they have to defend their partnership, and they talk about how they feel about each other, and it's a really good, heartfelt scene. But unfortunately, the movie doesn't have a whole lot of those, and we've got predictable jokes, predictable offensive jokes. Like the gay jokes in here are the most offensive thing. You got Rob Schneider as what was he supposed to be, like an Asian? Was he supposed to be like an Asian priest or something? Japanese priest? Morris Takashi. Again, I need to do some research on this. He was supposed to be an Asian priest, but still. Rob Schneider's not Asian. You got David Spade as a transvestite groupie. You've got all these different people in this movie where sometimes it could be funny, but it's not. I think the only one time in the movie where I thought the jokes actually did work was one scene very early on in the movie where, there's an accident, and, Kevin James and Adam Sandler get involved in it when they're trying to put this fire on, and one of the pieces of wood breaks down, and so when they get to the hospital, Adam Sandler is being taken care of by one of the doctors, whose name is literally Dr. Honey. And, she gets offended by that at first, but then later on in the movie, because, Adam Sandler's character is a womanizer, and he's got all these women, he's got all these hooter girls at his house one night, and one of the other girls he has is the doctor, who's now wearing the sexy lingerie, and, she was offended at first, but then whatever Adam Sandler said to her, it worked, and it does actually lead to a pretty good bit of dialogue between him and her and Kevin James, where she sees Kevin James just like, "Oh, Larry, how are you how are you feeling?" Like she goes back to being the doctor again. Just like stuff like that does work. I would have liked it better if it wasn't immediately right after the first time we see her, like back in Big Daddy, like, you know, the big thing about Christy Swanson's character in that movie is that she works at Hooters, and it's a joke they kind of build up throughout the course of the movie. Like, she talks about it at least once in a while, whenever we see her on screen, and then at the end of the movie, we find out that, yeah, we see her at Hooters, and that leads to the kind of the end of that joke in general. But they took their time with that, letting it sit there in the beginning of the movie, and then just seeing if it was going to come back again at the end towards the end of the movie. Here, it literally happens with a span of like 10 minutes after they first reveal it, and it's a funny bit. It's one of the few funny bits of dialogue in the movie, but like I said, it's very, very quick. Like, you gotta build that up here. And other than that, though, the jokes in here are very predictable and very, very bland. Like, you get, like, Jessica Biel in this movie is supposed to be this lawyer, but she's playing it way too dumb. Like, she knows. Like, she doesn't want to admit it. She won't admit it in the movie, but early on, but you just get the feeling that she knows that these two are BSing her with this whole idea that they're a gay couple. And I mean, it's like she's playing along with it, but, like, even so, it's just like everybody in this movie besides Adam Sandler and Kevin James, are stupid. Like, the whole, like everything about the movie just doesn't work. Once in a while, there's a good joke or a good scene here and there, but it's very few and far between. And it really is a film that I can't really recommend by any means necessary, because it's not that good of a movie. It's a really bad film overall, and it just doesn't really work as a whole. And it's a shame, because the funny thing is that Adam Sandler and Kevin James, like I said, I like their chemistry. I like the scenes they have together. They do work off each other very well here. But I just wish they had something funny to do instead of just going with the same predictable, lackluster, offensive, let's be offensive for the sake of being offensive comedy without actually being funny about it. And it just, it just doesn't work as a whole, and it really did let me down after I finally watched it again. And it's just like, yeah, this thing doesn't hold up. Almost 20 years later. This is still pretty bad overall. Like I said, it's a disappointment. I was expecting a lot more from it. I thought maybe time had passed and maybe it actually would hold up better. It simply does not. It's a shame because, like I said, there's pieces where it could work, but it just falls into the predictable bad Adam Sandler comedy territory. And he's done so much better stuff than this, and this just wasn't worth it in the end. So yeah, that's a hard skip on I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry, unfortunately. So with that said, though, let's get to the best movie of the week overall, and that is the musical Hairspray.
Remember when a movie could make you dream, could make you dance, could make you feel on top of the world?
I once had a dream that I owned a coin-operated laundromat, and I came down from that cloud real quickly.
On July 20th,
This is America. Go for it.
Get out there and show them.
you can't stop the beat. Hairspray, rated PG, starts July 20th.
Was it me, or if you ever watched the show American Dreams back in the day, it's the same voice, the voiceover guy doing the voices for American Dreams, doing the commercials for Hairspray. Was I the only one that got flashbacks to American Dreams whenever I watched this commercial again?
They invaded America, started a revolution that changed the world. And next Sunday on an all-new American Dreams, the Beatles are here.
It's like Elvis.
It's bigger. The Beatles invade next Sunday on an all-new American Dreams.
And funny enough, Brittany Snow, who was in American Dreams, is one of the stars of this movie, and kind of ties itself back together here. I don't know. I thought it was kind of interesting and weird to see that, but this is Hairspray, the musical adaptation of John Waters' classic comedy, which introduced the world to Ricky Lake among its cast. And in this movie, you have a pleasantly plump teenager, Tracy Turnblad, played by Nikki Blonsky, as she pursues stardom as a dancer at a local television dance show and rallies against racial segregation. She's part of a massive ensemble cast that includes legends like John Travolta, Michelle Pfeiffer, Christopher Walken, Amanda Bynes, James Marsden, Queen Latifah, the aforementioned Brittany Snow, Zac Efron, Allison Janney. Just a really, really good cast overall. Got an update on my computer there. That's why the light went down for a little bit. But yeah. So basically, this is the same plot as the original Hairspray, except with music added to it. This has already been adapted from a very successful musical of the same name, and it makes for a really entertaining movie. I mean, unlike something like Mean Girls that came out last year, which was basically just, let's remake that movie because we now have an excuse with the musical, and let's just plaster the songs in there, but not change anything from the original movie. They actually change a lot in this movie overall, and actually do something very creative and very fun with it. John Travolta as as Tracy's mother in this movie is absolutely brilliant. Like, it's one of the best John Travolta performances I've seen in a long, long time, and he just goes 110% with it. Him and Christopher Walken and Jerry Stiller, who's also in the movie as well, they work off each other very well here, especially Travolta and Stiller. Michelle Pfeiffer's pretty good in the movie. Amanda Bynes is very good here. James Marsden's pretty good. Queen Latifah. Zac Efron, this is the first movie I think a lot of people realize that, okay, this kid is not just the kid from High School Musical. Like, he's got some potential acting chops going forward, and we would see that later on down the road with the next film he'd be starring in after High School Musical 17 again. Of course, you got veterans like Allison Janney, who are usually not going to turn in bad performances overall. The songs are really good, too. A lot of them are reworked by Mark Shaman, who's been a great composer and lyricist over the years. And it's a really good movie that adds a lot of stuff from the Broadway that's different from the Broadway musical overall. And it was a very entertaining movie. It's a very stylish-looking film. It captures the spirit of the 1960s all over again. It features all these great talents in here. Everything about it just works. It's a real good fun time all across the board, and one I can't recommend enough. One of the best recent musicals as of late. Hairspray, really damn good movie. One you should definitely check out. Even if you never saw the original movie, this one's worth watching on its own merits. It's a great film. Can't recommend it enough. So with all that said, let's go ahead and move on to our last movie that we have here, and that's Danny Boyle's Sunshine.
We have a payload to deliver to the heart of our nearest star. That star is dying. And if it dies, we die.
Once again, Danny Boyle doing something that's not just the same genre over and over again. I mean, the last three films this guy has done, we had a teen drama with The Beach, then we had a zombie movie with 28 Days Later, and then a family film with Millions, and now we have a science fiction psychological thriller with Sunshine. In this one, you have a story that takes place in the year 2057, so about 32 years from now, this is going to take place. So keep your eyes and ears on that, folks. Where a group of astronauts aboard the Icarus II are sent on a dangerous mission to reignite the dying sun. You have a cast here that includes Cillian Murphy from 28 Days Later, Chris Evans, Rose Byrne, Michelle Yeoh, Cliff Curtis, Troy Garrity, Hiroko Sanada, Benedict Wong, and Mark Strong. And this was a film that did not do very well at the box office, but it's Danny Boyle and Alex Garland working together. I mean, these are the same guys that brought 28 Days Later together, and that was a great movie overall. I really enjoyed the hell out of this movie. From a technical level, it looks incredible. From an acting level, Cillian Murphy really does show the future that he has going forward, as he eventually would become an Oscar winner with Oppenheimer. Everybody else I thought worked very well here. The visuals of the film look pretty impressive. there was a lot of criticisms about the third act and the direction that it went, but watching it watching it nearly 20 years later and seeing what it is and nowadays, it makes a lot more sense than I think you would let on. And, it was criticized for inaccuracies overall, but what it does overall now that time has gone by since it's come out, I think it's a movie that had to grow in time to really get the appreciation of that specific scene the last scene in the movie where it works very well. It's a really thought-provoking film overall. It's a film that is very unique on all levels. It really does keep you on the edge of your seat, and it just goes to show you what good Danny Boyle can do with all these different genres, because we've talked about so many other different genres that this guy has done, and here's another one where he takes on something he hasn't done before, and he makes something incredible out of it. It's a really great film, definitely one of his more underrated movies in general. I really enjoy the hell out of this movie. I highly recommend checking it out. If you like Danny Boyle's other works, you're going to love this movie a lot. I recommend Sunshine. It's definitely a worth watcher. A worth watcher. That's a new one. It's like the Wheel of Fortune ads from the 1980s. I'm a worth watcher. I'm a worth watcher every day. I apologize for everything every time I do that, but what I'm saying is that Sunshine is worth watching. With all of that said now, that's my cue to get the hell on out of here. That's the end of this episode of Time About the Movies. But coming up next time around, we have a weekend which features a movie that, this was my most anticipated movie of the year. You can keep your Spider-Mans, you can keep your Shrek, you can keep your Transformers, your Pirates of the Caribbean. The Simpsons movie all the way, baby. That was the movie I was most looking forward to that summer. And I went to see it 8 times in the theater. And does it hold up after all these years later? Well, we'll find out next time around. We'll also take a look at Catherine Zeta-Jones and Aaron Eckhart in the second movie of the year in the summer about, chefs, this time not featuring a rat, No Reservations. It's also got Abigail Breslin in it. The movie that killed Lindsay Lohan's acting career. I will go to the depths to say that this is the film that actually literally was the one that killed it. The infamous I Know Who Killed Me. How fitting. And then I guess the attempt to make a black Caddyshack, Who's Your Caddy? And needless to say, that didn't work out very well. But we have a packed show coming your way next time around. That'll be coming up tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. Now, with all of that said, though, thank you so much for watching and enduring this craziness I've gone through in the last couple of minutes. But if you like this, if you're that sick person that likes this and want to see more videos like this, please go ahead, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and also don't forget to hit the notification button. Also, check out our playlist and check out the last episode I did. And also, don't forget to hit that bell because we do post new videos here every day, so that's when you get updates on when they come out. So with all of that said, I'm getting out of here. It's been a long day for me. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Until then, take care.